Rights to large swaths of African forests are being sold in a series of huge carbon offset deals covering an area larger than the UK. The deals, struck by a little-known member of Dubai's ruling royal family, cover up to 20% of the countries involved and have raised concerns about a new scramble for Africa and the continent's carbon resources. As president of the Blue Carbon Company, founded just a year ago, Sheikh Ahmed Dalmook al-Maktoum has announced several exploratory agreements with African states hosting major wildlife refuges and biodiversity hotspots, for lands representing thousands of millions of dollars in potential compensation. Sheikh has no previous experience in nature conservation projects. So far, the agreements cover a fifth of Zimbabwe, 10% of Liberia, 10% of Zambia and 8% of Tanzania, equivalent to a total area the size of the United Kingdom. In October, Blue Carbon signed its latest deal for millions of hectares of forest in Kenya. The company said it is also working on a deal with Pakistan. Further agreements are expected in the coming months. Carbon resources associated with the agreements could be purchased by major polluters and used for their own goals under the Paris Agreement. Blue Carbon is based in the United Arab Emirates, where the COP28 summit begins this week. The company expects credits from the plans to be negotiated as nationwide contributions to the 2015 Paris Agreement, it said in a statement. However, concerns have been raised about the deals, as well as the Sheikh's previous business ventures, including his role in deals to sell Russia's Sputnik V vaccine at a premium during the pandemic, and about an Italian fugitive listed as an advisor to Blue Carbon. The agreements come amid broad scrutiny of the ability of carbon markets to effectively finance climate change mitigation while protecting biodiversity and community rights. Carbon markets are an important piece of the puzzle because they can really channel resources into activities that otherwise wouldn't be implemented, said Axel Michaloa, a carbon markets expert at the University of Zurich. If the rules are interpreted too leniently, and we see junk credit being generated, then obviously confidence in the market could be seriously undermined. His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Dalmook al-Maktoum, chairman of the Blue Carbon Company, a young member of Dubai's ruling royal family who is behind a series of carbon offsetting deals covering vast areas of African forests, which could one day be worth thousands of millions. Blue Carbon stated that the vision with these projects is not only to accelerate global climate action, but also to address crucial environmental challenges at a local level, thereby generating community benefits and promoting sustainable development in the countries involved. While few details about the Blue Carbon agreements have been made public, The Guardian spoke to those involved and saw details of a draft contract with Liberia in July. The deal would give the UAE company the exclusive right to sell the credits for 30 years, retaining 70% of the credit sales. Under the rules of the Paris Agreement, countries that sold the credits would not be able to use them for their own commitments. Some of those involved in these deals highlighted that carbon markets provide much-needed financial support to African countries where other sources of climate finance were not delivering. However, others expressed concern, saying the scale of the land deals amounted to a new struggle for Africa. Blue Carbon is taking over huge swaths of land in Africa through multiple decades-long deals, sealing the fate of the very land that millions of vulnerable communities depend on for their livelihoods, said Alexandra Benjamin, the organization's forest governance campaigner. NGO Fern, which focuses on Liberia and Ghana. At COP28, countries will meet and discuss the rules for carbon offsetting. These negotiators should call these deals what they are: land theft. Forest communities must have free, prior and informed consent before signing any agreement, he said. Many African leaders enthusiastically support carbon markets to finance climate change mitigation following broken promises on other sources of financing. Kenyan President William Ruto has said the continent's carbon resources are an unrivaled economic gold mine. Blue Carbon said carbon projects would benefit communities and operate in markets with rigorous controls. They said free, prior and informed consent is central to their project development strategy, highlighting the difference between voluntary carbon markets, where human rights issues are a serious concern, and compliance markets. In Liberia, NGOs have raised concerns about the implications of the potential deal on communities' land rights and people's access to the forest, which is often essential to their livelihoods. David Abura, founding director of Cordio East Africa and head of the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPS, said, "Carbon is one of the few contributions of nature to people that can be easily monetized. It means, therefore, that all those who are not monetized are excluded or forgotten. There are very high risks of exclusivity and the taking away of access and rights from people. In theory, revenue from the credits would finance climate adaptation and nature conservation in developing countries, protecting carbon sinks and biodiversity. The blue carbon projects would be among the largest of their kind, but governments have yet to approve their inclusion in formal carbon trading under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. The carbon trading system could see large polluting countries such as the UK, Saudi Arabia or China purchase emissions removals or reductions from developing countries to meet their own targets through offsets. The UAE has sought to present itself as a major buyer of African carbon credits, pledging to buy $450 million, £356 million, in African credits by 2030 at the African Climate Summit in September. The United Arab Emirates has the third largest oil and gas expansion plan in the world, an analysis this year revealed. Its plans are surpassed only by Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Blue Carbon signed an agreement with First Abu Dhabi Bank, the UAE's largest, to finance investments in the Forest Carbon Project in September. The United Nations Development Programme confirmed it was in contact with the company on how to develop the plans. Blue Carbon said it is committed to strict rules on appropriate methodologies for carbon projects and will follow what governments agreed at COP28. He said his team had previous experience developing carbon projects.
For more news like this across the globe, please subscribe to our channel, like and share this video. Thank you.